Good evening, you're watching this special edition of The Big Story. I'm Hairianto Diman coming to you live from the Ministry of Communications and Information. Now this just in, the Health Ministry has confirmed 40 new cases. This brings the total number of confirmed cases in Singapore to 385. Out of these 40 new cases, 30 cases are imported cases and the majority of these cases are from the UK. Meanwhile, the Government Technology Agency has also launched a new contact tracing app today. Now called TraceTogether, it's a mobile app that uses Bluetooth signals between phones to detect other app users in close proximity.
So the process of contact tracing, it starts with a recall. You have to remember who you were sitting next to, you have to remember who you interacted with. And that's the only thing that this app intervenes with. It means that poor memory will no longer slow down the process of contact tracing. It provides a logbook of those interactions. But the engineering that our GovTech team has spent actually thousands of man-hours on is fairly elegant in the sense that it preserves a fair degree of privacy. In this app, if two people have the app installed, there is a Bluetooth handshake between their phones, but their phone numbers are not exchanged. There's no geolocation data involved, and personal identifying data is not exchanged either. So the engineering has preserved the privacy of the users from each other. It still requires, when the process is activated through MOH for contact tracing, it still requires an interview. It still requires that professional judgment of the contact tracing team, but hopefully it starts the process earlier and hopefully allows it to move much faster. And the app then therefore augments our contact tracing professionals.
Records of such encounters are stored on each user's phone. Now users must give consent for any information to be used, and phone numbers or personal data will not be exchanged. This is to preserve the privacy. Now the task force also announced stricter safe distancing measures to reduce crowd in public spaces. Now among which, between now and June 30th, all events and gatherings with 250 or more participants at any one time must be suspended. This is an expansion of the previous requirements for ticketed cultural, sports and entertainment events to be limited to fewer than 250 participants. There are possible penalties for not enforcing these measures, and these penalties can include fines, revoking of licenses. Agencies will have more details later on. Now for events and gatherings with fewer than 250 participants, organisers and event venue operators are required to implement the necessary precautionary measures to ensure separation of at least a metre between participants. These other measures can also include spaced seating at events and reducing mingling of participants, such as during meal times. Other measures also can include improving ventilation, advising participants to reduce contact with others. Organisers can also put in place temperature-taking measures and turning away those who are unwell. Apart from that, also to put in measures to facilitate contact tracing. Public venues to also ensure at least 1 metre separation between patrons. Now, for example, in queues to have more counters open, or also encourage self-checkout counters. F&B venues can maintain at least 1 metre separation for the chairs and tables. For hawker centres, for instance, where tables and chairs are fixed, they can mark out alternate seatings. Now, however, Minister for National Development Lawrence Wong also said that safe distancing on public transport isn't possible on its own.
For public transport, doing safe distancing alone is not going to be possible. It has to be done in conjunction with other measures, particularly at the workplace. And that's why I emphasized earlier that employers need to shift towards telecommuting as a default option. If there's a need for meeting, then go for teleconferencing. And then only for the remaining employees who need to come to the office or need to be at the on-site, then you operate, but even then do so through staggered hours. right? And you have to offer options for them and make sure that not all of them choose only one option, because that defeats the purpose of staggered hours. They have to be spread out across the different options. So if we do that and we push that along, then indeed there is a chance for the loading on the public transport system to come down.
Also said the suspension of activities for seniors to be extended for another 14 days until April 7th. Organisers are to put in place extra precautions in preparation for the resumption of activities after April 7th. Now, Health Minister Gan Kim Yong also addressed the issue of hospital capacity, as Singapore is seeing a recent escalation of new cases.
They are at different stages and different aspects of hospital capacity. One example I would cite is the idea of putting in place quarantine facilities that can be used as medical facilities, fitted out as medical facilities, so that they are able to accommodate patients who are very mild symptoms and don't really require medical facilities, hospital support, or patients who are in fact ready to be discharged, but we just want to keep them for a few more days for observation and to make sure that they are absolutely clear of viruses and they don't need hospital support. And these patients may be housed in quarantine facilities, and we are in the process of fitting this out and getting these quarantine facilities ready for these patients. We do not need this capacity yet, but it's better to put in place ahead of time. Within the hospitals, we also have wards that are prepared to be converted into COVID-19 wards to be able to handle and manage COVID-19 patients. And these wards are already a part of our emergency plans, emergency response plans, and they are in place. We have not stood them up yet because we do not yet need this additional
For more
capacity.
details on the 40 new cases, as well as the stricter, safe distancing measures announced, you can visit our website at straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Hairianto Diman at the Ministry of Communications and Information, reporting for the Straits Times.